Right, so I thought it would be worthwhile doing a little video on methodology. It's probably one of the most difficult chapters that you can probably try and do because there's no gray areas. You're either getting it right or you're getting it wrong. You have to use the correct terminology in the correct way, which means it's vitally important that you go to the books and you go to the journal articles. So I just wanted to give you an example of some of the stuff that I have, which will hopefully um, give you an understanding of how I go about it. So here's some journal articles by Emerald Insight. What I normally do once I've printed them off and read them is I do these kind of thematic uh, kind of summaries of the article, what the journal theme was about, but also if there's anything particular around methodology. Now, the nice thing about a journal article is that they all start with an abstract. So this one here, you can clearly see by the title what it's about. I'm looking at universities and apprenticeships. But over here, in terms of the methodology, it says a short questionnaire. So if I'm doing a survey questionnaire, I can go into this journal article. Yes, maybe the theme has got nothing to do with my own research, but nonetheless, the methodology is the same. A short questionnaire, uh, 10 questions, drawing on the key themes identified from the literature. And then they use a whole lot of language here in terms of how the methodology is described. And I can use that language in the work that I am doing as well, which is why journal articles are really brilliant. They're quick, they're short, but they've got a lot of detail. So I'm going to run through some textbooks for business research. These are probably the two best ones that are well known. This is Business Research Methods by Bryman and Bell. It's very, very good. Very systematic as it goes through. If you open up the contents, it deals with the nature of knowledge. So you're going to be dealing with research philosophy, the different strategies, how you would start. It goes into qualitative and quantitative research. A very, very, very good book, and particularly for those doing qualitative research. There's some really good stuff in here in terms of interviews. The other one, which is very popular in business research, is this one here by Saunders, Lewis, and Thornhill, Research Methods for Business Students. And if you Googled Research Onion, it's Saunders that you'll come up with in terms of how he structures his methodology. Um, I agree with all the various elements that he lists, but I don't think the order in which he lists them makes sense. And again, your general structure, the review of the literature, and then your various philosophies, and then your research design. These are all covered by Saunders as well. If you want to be a little bit more general, and this is particularly for MAs and undergrad research, Doing Your Research Project by Bell. Very popular book and deals with the basics of research, runs through a number of methodologies and basically, again, how you structure your work. This is particularly relevant in social sciences, so psychology and so on, but even if you're doing business research, the key concepts are in this book as well. Another one which is very good, and this is particularly at MA level and above, is Key Ideas in Educational Research. Again, although its title is education, what it does is it gives you an A to Z of pretty much all the various terminology that you'll find in research. And you can look up definitions, what certain things mean, and again, it covers a lot of methodological things such as survey, interview, and so on. This one is also a very good one, Introduction to Social Research, Quantitative and Qualitative Approaches by Punch. Again, very, very, very practical. And again, in terms of methodology, particularly if you're doing primary research, it gives you some really good pointers and guidance on how to go about that. One that I picked up from Josie Bass Publications is called Qualitative Research. So if you're doing anything around interviews and or focus groups, this is a really good book, very thick, and deals with all the qualitative aspects of primary research. If you're doing quantitative research, so survey and SPSS, the social package for social research, statistical, this one is very, very good and explains basically how the whole process works, all the various tests, t-test, all those different kinds of things, how to set it up, how to do a questionnaire in order to generalize and so on. Very good book. You'll find these in the libraries. If you're doing a more qualitative approach, but you're using a lot of narrative methods, so this might be things like a discourse analysis, even in secondary research. This one's a very good one, Collecting and Interpreting Qualitative Materials by Denson and Lincoln. And in here you'll find things like autobiographical research, narrative interviews, a number of kind of artistic approaches as well in terms of archetypes, things like that. Let me just open up the contents here. So art-based inquiry, recontextualizing observation, ethnographies, methods, politics, and ethics of representation, ethnographies. So grounded theory will also come out in these kinds of books, but these authors are very good, Denson and Lincoln. They often deal with this kind of thing. If you're particularly looking at autobiographical research and biographical methods, then Merrill and West is a very, very, very good book. But again, this kind of thing in undergrad is very rare. These are probably postgrad methods because they're a lot more detailed. Just a few other ones. So this is by Gary Thomas, Research Project, How to Do Your Research Project, a guide to students in education and applied social sciences. So again, business would be relevant in here. It's a Sage publication. And again, Thomas deals with quite a lot of qualitative research, which is very good. This one is also a very good book, Colin Robinson, Real World Research, the 3rd edition, and again deals with all the basics of research, again particularly in the social field, but again covers most of the things in terms of your research position, the philosophy. It deals with design, fixed designs, flexible designs, multi-strategy, so again mixed method, survey and interview, action research, etc., etc. So again, covering most of the basics of research. I just want to end off with this one, and this is particularly for MA and PhD students, postgraduate research. Michael Crotty, The Foundations of Social Research. This is the real good one in terms of getting your head around research philosophy, positivism, constructivism, critical realism, all these different kinds of positions. I would suggest you get this book if you're really confused about what those things are. And it gives you, again, good sources to use. In terms of writing, I found this one, and this a lot of the resources I share with you as a supervisor comes from Rosen. Titles, how to connect different paragraphs, how to introduce your sources, etc., etc. Academic Writer's Handbook. So more around academic writing in research. Another Sage publication, Writing for Academic Success. This again, Croswell and Poor, is quite a good one when it talks about what a literature review is, how you do it. So again, secondary research, case studies, those kinds of things. This would also be a very good book to consult. And then finally, another one, a Palgrave study skill book, Study Skills Connected, Cottrell and Morris, how to do advanced search tools on your literature review. And again, your academic writing around literature reviews and so on. So these are just some sources I thought I'd share with you in terms of writing your methodology and preparing for your methodology.